It's the last big wrestling weekend of 2019, and there are a slug of events going on right now. So let's take a look at some of them, shall we? I'm Kellen Nitro. Welcome to Nitro Maniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited, and this is my take, Nitro's take, on Ring of Honor's Final Battle 2019 pay-per-view that went down on December 13th. Yes, Friday the 13th. Ooh, 2019. In Baltimore, Maryland. I will get the venue for you right now. It is from the UMBC Events Center in Baltimore, Maryland. This is the pay-per-view portion. They're doing their TV tapings on Sunday at the ECW Arena, essentially, the 2300 Arena in Philly. So if you're in the Philly area and you're a subscriber of mine or you come across my channel, go check them out on Sunday. It's something to do, at least. This was an 11-match card, and when we start the pay-per-view, if we get into what we would consider the free-for-all section of it, and immediately we start by getting an announcement from Ian Riccoboni, Colt Cabana, and Caprice Coleman, who are our commentary team for tonight, saying that the first hour is free, and we're going to see some matches in this first hour to kind of sell us all on a pay-per-view and to buy it, and then at the top of the second hour, we go into the pay-per-view. So it kind of is cool that they started the show early enough that it's a kind of doesn't separate the pre-show, and it's not a separate pre-show, I guess, versus, you know, a pay-per-view like that. This opening contest, Silas Young, Josh Woods versus Dalton Castle and Joe Hendry. I wish it was just later in the card. You know, to see these four guys in the ring wrestle and work a pretty decent match with maybe less than 100, 150 people in the arena by the time they started the match was kind of underwhelming. Now, the bottom bowl of that building and that stuff did fill out in time for the pay-per-view, and it might have been just the way they mic'd the building and that stuff, but the crowd at times felt like they were kind of distant and not really coming across very well on the pay-per-view. But to have them start with that is kind of it's just along the lines of, okay, well, that's, you know, it's a great match going on. I just wish it was later in the card because there's barely people in there watching this. It's kind of like what match was it? I think it was Miz versus Matt Hardy years ago at SummerSlam, where they opened it up. I want to say SummerSlam 16 or 17. It would be 17 when Matt was back in the company, and then it would be 2017. And there were maybe less than 500 people in the arena watching the match. And all you see was just empty seats and maybe one person. So Hendry and Castle, they're monster over with Ring of Honor fans, and Young and Woods, a newer team in Ring of Honor. They're using the working name of Two Guys, One Tag. A very entertaining match. Not a lot, like I said, I've already talked on the people, not a lot of people in the building at this point, so that's what's making it suffer kind of a little bit. Tons of hard strikes in this match, and Woods gets the pin with his D's Knees finisher, and Woods has pinned a former world champion, so great opener. Yeah, he got the pinfall on Dalton Castle, which I thought was great. You know, this was a solid opener for sure. I just wish there was more people in the building to watch the opener. That's what it was. So I think the runtime on this one was 9 minutes and 14 seconds. So, you know, fairly good. Watching the pay-per-view, we didn't cut to a pre-tape, and hey, it's Wrestling with Regrets Brian Zane. Super stoked that he's getting this chance with Ring of Honor. I'm happy with this. Happy with him just kind of doing the backstage roving reporter, you know, almost Eric Bischoff-esque type role from the early days of WCW when he started his stint before he owned the company, or ran the company, not owned it. But Brian Zane is looking for Angelina Love and her comments backstage, and he gets them. I thought we were going to run into another Missy Hyatt, Eric Bischoff locker room type situation from back in the day, but I've been binge watching too much old school WCW evidently. So Alex Shelley is in the house. He says that the greatest students become teachers, and he calls out Colt Cabana for a match because these two have never had a one-on-one match in Ring of Honor. Crazy, I know. They've had a tag team match against each other, as we find out later on in the pay-per-view, but they've never had a one-on-one contest. So Cabana accepts. So Shelley versus Colt Cabana for the first time ever tonight as an added attraction on the pay-per-view. Yes, sign me up to check that out. That would be amazing, and we'll talk about that when it shows up in the order. The former All Night Express tag team explodes, where we have Rhett Titus take on Kenny King in a grudge match, one fall contest. King walks out with the old All Night Express music, Mind Games, and him and AB Rose are doing the taunt at the top of the stage that Titus and King used to do in matches and that stuff. That's getting some heat. And the building's starting to fill out at this point too, so more and more people, and there's more and more noise happening, which is great. The crowd started to wake up a bit for this one. Titus taking too much time showboating on the outside. Kenny grabs the advantage. That was really well done. King going for a lethal injection, sending some shots over the bow of Jay Lethal, who we'll see later on in the card. But Titus catches him, and both these guys utilize the same finisher, the Royal Flush. And Titus caught him and goes for it and only gets a 2 count out of it. Rhett looked to be in control in this match until Amy Rose on the outside grabbed Titus's knee. It distracted him, allowing King to hit the Royal Flush, 1-2 free, and get the pinfall. The runtime on this one, Wikipedia has it at 11:10. Very passable. Again, great match at the beginning of the card, and the crowd's starting to file in. So now this thing's starting to look like a pay-per-view. It's looking pretty good at this point. Jeff Cobb and Dan Moff. Oh my goodness. 2 hosses going at it. In the early going, Cobb does a elevated superplex from the middle ropes to bring Moff in. What a power move. This match, yes, sign me up for this. I'd love to see this one again when they do the New Japan tour. Whenever that is, in April, May, or March. I can't remember exactly when it is on the schedule, but I'd like to see them bring that match over to Japan and under New Japan rules have it. This was phenomenal. I enjoyed this. This is 2 big guys just working the heck out of each other, and just, man, it was great. It was great. Runtime on this was 8:50, and the finish was Cobb hits 2 Tour of the Islands finishers out of Moff's Burning Hammer attempt. Moff's always used the Burning Hammer as a finisher. Finally gets the 1-2 free after the second Tour of the Islands. Are you kidding me? He got him up for 2, not just 1, but 2. Moff's not a small man either. A great match. I hope to see these guys go again for a belt or something in 2020. I think it might be exactly what Ring of Honor needs, maybe for a television title feud or something. I'm pretty sure they're going to bank this and use this somewhere along the line in 2020. We didn't get into the pay-per-view portion of the program. That was the first hour. So now we get into the pay-per-view portion. And we have Villain Enterprises, Marty Scurll, and Flip Gordon taking on Flamita and Bandito. And of course, this is the hot topic du jour right now in wrestling. Was this Marty Scurll's final weekend in Ring of Honor? Fulfilling contract dates and that stuff, doing TV and so forth. Where is he going to go? What direction is he going to take in 2020 with his career? It remains to be seen, and trust me, at the time I record this, which is late on Saturday night, there have been some developments with this too. So, stay tuned as we walk into the fire after this one. That's all I'm going to say. Another member of Villain Enterprises, Brody King, is on commentary during this. Very good lucha, I just call it good lucha things to open this thing. This is just high-end lucha moves. This is my first real time watching Flamita wrestle. I've missed his prior appearances and that stuff, but I was really impressed with watching him go, and I'm always impressed watching Bandito wrestle, which is great. And I think the 2 of them really work well as a tag team together. This is already at a match of the night pace. These 4 work so well together. They do. Scurll hits a super kick on Gordon. Is there a dissension in the ranks of Villain Enterprises? Probably not. I think it was just one of those miscalculation moves with a team. One team was bound to screw up. For the finish, Bandito and Flamita get the 1-2 free with a combined 26-19 maneuver on... I believe it was Flip Gordon on the ropes. And yeah, this was a great match. Awesome opener. What's next for Marty? Well, stay tuned to Nitro's Take and the NWA Into the Fire Nitro's Take, which we'll talk about a little later on the channel for more on that. Grudge match between 2 former members of the Kingdom was up next, where we had Matt Taven take on Vincent. And they're trying to do like a Wyatt family Broken Hardy saga with the video recap of this feud and that stuff with Vincent. It kind of works. Vinny Marseglia, Vincent, his character right now, kind of, and just the look, kind of comes across as a House of a Thousand Corpses character or knockoff. Like it's virtually Rob Zombie at this point. This was a great match. It started off hot, nice brawl into the crowd until Vincent started to attack Taven's knee. Vincent hits the red rum and a beautiful swanton bomb, but only a 2 count out of that. Taven hits his finisher to climax for 2. Taven hits another climax for only 2 on this. And then he kind of rolls out of the ring, grabs the axe that started this whole thing, the axe that left the scar on Matt Taven's forehead, the axe that is, wielded by Vincent and all these promos and that stuff. It's just sitting under the ring. Taven knew it was there, so he rolls out and he grabs the axe from under the ring. Vincent, though, intercepts Taven. He hits a sliced bread number 2 for the 1-2-3. More things change, more they say the same in Ring of Honor. Shout out to Spanky. After the match, Bateman hits the ring and tombstones Taven, and Vincent he shoves a 2x4 right in between Taven's feet and I call it Kathy Bates his leg with the chair. That's because it looked like a scene from Misery or whatever. A great blow off. The crowd sparked a bit too off of this. This is going to be a feud that continues well on into 2020, and I think we may have seen the start of potentially either a new tag team or a new faction here with Vincent and Bateman kind of joining forces now at this point. Next match was Mark Haskins taking on Bully Ray in a street fight. So this is street fight rules. These promo packages tonight are just amazing on the pay-per-view. I loved every single one that I've seen. Excited to see this one. Haskins accompanied by his wife Vicky. She's a wrestler, worker herself that's wrestled in the UK and for other promotions. I think even some of the same promotions that Haskins has wrestled in the past. Bully Ray jumps Haskins with a barbed wire sheet of plywood and attacks Vicky with it too. Wow. That was a jaw dropper, and it just got a real, just a warm boo out of the entire building. So well done. It was great. Jaw dropper, and the match opens with Bully just ragdolling Haskins. But Haskins, though, he fights back. After about a 5 or 6 minute period, after Bully takes time to showboat on the outside, and during this kind of standoff and everything in the ring, Bully grabs a mic and starts running down Haskins, and Haskins just lets loose just the heart and soul of this guy. This guy's going to be a big figure in Ring of Honor to build around in 2020, I think, going forward. There is lots of weaponry in the ring, ladders, chairs. Haskins himself went through a barricade after a Bully Ray power move. Bully grabs the tables from the outside, and again, that plywood sheet of barbed wire. Haskins gets power bombed into the barbed wire because that barbed wire was like stacked on top of the table, and the table didn't break because of the strength of the plywood, right? So you see just this great Muta-esque Muta drive elbow from Bully Ray to go with him right through the barbed wire. That was just wow. Vicky Haskins then hits the ring again with a cheese grater to the groin of Bully Ray, which was one of those cringy, oh my god moments. A very funny spot, but also very cringeworthy at the same time. For the finish, Haskins hits the Stomp Boy for the 1-2-3. The street fight that took 16 minutes 30 seconds. Brutal match, great match. I got all the reactions from me and that stuff. I just wish that they had mic'd the crowd a little bit more so that we can get more warmer reactions from the crowd and that stuff. But to me, that match delivered on all levels. Then we have Alex Shelley take on Colt Cabana. This was the match that was announced earlier on, and that's the first time meeting between the two longtime Ring of Honor standouts. This is a busy weekend for Colt. 2 straight pay-per-views. This one tonight, and NWA's Into the Fire on Saturday, which we'll talk about during the NWA Into the Fire Nitro Stake. First time, like I said, first time singles meeting between the two. This was a very fast-paced World of Sport type wrestling match, very technical. Cabana with a couple near falls, gets a near fall with a Superman pin, And then eventually Shelley kind of traps Cabana and goes around and grabs a 1-2 out of it. I enjoyed this thing. Was really immense for a kind of a last minute booking to throw it together. This was a really nice addition to this card. It was something that the technical wrestling fans, the British fans, the British strong style, the world of sports fans and that stuff could watch and enjoy and smile and talk about with their friends. So this was fun. We then had a Women of Honor match, which was the debut of Maria Manic in Ring of Honor. This is Manic's first match with Ring of Honor. She took on the Allures Angelina Love. Basically, this was a prolonged squash job. Manic was basically ragdolling Angelina Love. And also, she brought Mandy Leon into the ring and basically decimated her throughout the match as well. Press slam by Manic to Love through the table on the outside, and Manic got a submission victory with the old Lex Luger torture rack. The length for the match itself was 6:24. I mean, I was surprised when I seen that length 6:24 because I was like, man, this could have been done a lot shorter. They're going to book her like a female Goldberg out there and just crush people. I wouldn't mind seeing her have a 50 or a 75 match winning streak in 2020. So we'll see what happens off of that. Up next, the Ring of Honor TV title, Dragon Lee taking on the champion Shane Taylor. This should be and it is a interesting clash of styles. Taylor was calling out Roosh during this match, of course, because Dragon Lee and Roosh are brothers. And the storyline, one of the storylines going into this pay-per-view, then for the first time in Ring of Honor history, a set of brothers will walk out with singles titles at the end of the night. I was surprised by hearing that. I would have thought that the Briscoes had done it earlier in the decade or something like that when they were on their singles feud. But nope, this is what we have. This was an interesting clash with Taylor in control and then Lee kind of turning the tables towards the end of it. There was a 2 count for Taylor after the package pile driver, a 2 count after a Falcon Arrow for Taylor onto Lee, even a 1 count after Taylor brings a chain into the ring, but Lee grabs it and uses it, kind of wraps around his knee for a knee trigger type maneuver. Lido hits another flying knee a little bit later on and gets to 1-2-3, and he is a Triple Crown title holder now. He has held titles in CMLL, of course, Ring of Honor, and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So the 3 promotions that are kind of that partnership right now, he has held titles in. So great match, and a very deserving television champion for Dragon Lee. And it also helps that Dragon Lee is going to be heavily featured on the Wrestle Kingdom card coming up. Well, the 2-night Wrestle Kingdom card, Wrestle Kingdom, what is it, 14 now? Coming up in January 4th and 5th, 2020 in Tokyo at the Tokyo Dome. We'll get more house in a few weeks to talk about that, so stay tuned. I really don't have much written down for this next match just because it kind of seemed to me a very confusing encounter. Great match, but not match of the night category or a match of the night contender between the Briscoes and Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham for the ROH tag team belts. Incredibly stiff contest, and then we have all of a sudden brand new tag champs with Gresham and Lethal. The runtime on that one is 21:54. And honestly, I think it was just built like that to, I want to say, maybe keep the main event a 20-minute contest. I think that they could have done a lot more with a lot less time, with the 15-minute time, maybe a 15-minute time limit affair, or not even a 15-minute time limit affair, just go 15 minutes, I should say. There were points in this match where just kind of dragged a little bit, I felt, but Lethal and Gresham, again, Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. Good to get a belt on Gresham, and Lethal with a belt is always a plus for me. So happy with that. I was happy with the Briscoes as tag champions too and that stuff, but hey, they lost them, so now they can go after the 12-time or being a 12-time Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion team in 2020. I believe their contract is still with Ring of Honor, so we'll see what happens. And of course, Lethal is now a Ring of Honor Grand Slam winner, having held every belt. I believe that the tag belts was something that he was missing. So I believe that the tag belts were something that he was missing under this current configuration of belts. Don't forget when they brought in the World Six-Man belts a few years ago and such. So the main event was up next, where we had PCO take on ROH for the ROH World Championship, the world title. Another incredible video hyping up PCO. Killer entrances for both men, and ROH just taking it to PCO early on. ROH jumps over the barricade and takes a mini ladder from the crowd and attacks PCO with it in a very similar spot compared to the one that I saw live at MSG this year. We see PCO missing a apron senton or a senton bomb to the apron when ROH decided to move at the last minute, and PCO just goes kidney first into the edge of the apron. Yeah, that hurts. ROH drags PCO towards the hearse that PCO used that you've seen in videos and that stuff, and it was just parked at the corner of the entrance ramp, and you could just see smoke kind of emanating from it, I guess, from all the smoke machines in it or whatever, or the mystical powers of PCO. It was, kind of, wow, that's there. This match kind of ventured off into sports entertainment territory after that a little bit. You see ROH sending PCO off the edge of the entrance into barricades, but then Destro emerges out of nowhere, reaches into the hearse and jump starts PCO. Yes, he ripped the grill off of the front of the hearse and pulled out some jumper cables and hooked it up to PCO, and all of a sudden the French-Canadian Frankenstein is back up and running. I guess he needed a jump start. PCO then chokeslams ROH on the hearse. There's a ton of plunder in the ring. As they make their way back, ROH destroys a door over PCO's head, but PCO then spears ROH through a door. ROH went underneath the ring and pulled out about 3 or 4 doors under the ring. I don't know why they were doors under the ring. Maybe, symbolism. Riccaboni was saying it was symbolism of the doors that he opened in 2019 and into 2020. So PCO then nails a spear through the table for the 1-2-3 on ROH. So we have a brand new Ring of Honor champion, the 51-year-old, soon to be 52-year-old Pierre-Carl Ouellette, FKA the former Jean-Pierre Lafitte, FKA one half of the Quebecers, so on and so forth. But now it is Perfect Creation 1. PCO is the Ring of Honor World Champion. With a total runtime of 3 hours and 58 minutes, kind of tidy in that area and that stuff, the show goes off the air. So, my score for this show, I'm going to give it probably a 7 out of 10. There were elements of the show that I really liked. I really liked the opening tag on a pay-per-view between Villain Enterprises and Flamita and Bandito. Haskins and Billy Ray was fun. The main event was more sports entertainment-y than anything else, but it didn't really it didn't really grasp at me and grab my attention like it should have at times too. This card kind of felt a little sleepy at times, and I think it might have been just the crappy miking of the live house too. But there you go. Ring of Honor, a company in flux going into 2020, so we'll remain to be seen what happens there with all of its little quirks and controversies and such that are happening both within storyline and outside of storyline right now with Ring of Honor. What happens with Marty Scurll? What happens with this Kelly Klein situation with the Women of Honor title? Going forward, what does that mean for new superstars coming in? What does that mean for Ring of Honor with the Sinclair deal, and so on and so forth? 2020 is going to be a pivotal year for them. I don't see them folding, obviously. I see them, maybe fighting through these issues and coming out strong. But right now, Impact's kind of taken their luster a little bit. And so it remains to be seen if they can grasp that back a little bit. They may need some help with their partnership with New Japan. And that's been even on rocky ground this year as well. So in order to do so. But anyways, later days, happy wrestling watching. I'm Kellen Nitro. We'll see you next time on Nitro Maniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited. Take care, and yeah, see ya.